Hey everybody, welcome back to Chrono Trigger, where yes, I did just beat the game not too long ago, but there's still more to do. So, after you beat the game, you unlock New Game Plus, where if you start it, you wind up just getting a refresher of the opening. It plays out like normal. Nothing fancy there. You do see the Dimensional Vortex just kind of taunting you there in the background though. Past that, it's pretty much the exact same thing, except for this. You see this little portal here. If you take this portal at any point, you will be able to fight Lavos. You will go straight in, and you could even do it from the dead beginning of the game. That's actually one of the requirements for the endings. I did say endings because, while yes, I did do pretty much what is considered the main ending of the game, there's still different variations of it. Before we get into that though, I actually do want to show off something of my own. This is the Game Pro presents Chrono Trigger from Final Fantasy Chronicles, Special Role Player Realm Strategy Guide. This thing is worth a lot of money. It's worth an obscene amount of money. I don't know why, because this thing is 8 pages of like the weakest strategy guide I've ever seen, but I love it. Like when you first start out, it's like Lean Square. Check out everything in Lean Square. What you do here affects what happens later. After enjoying the festivities, go to Luca's new invention. When things go disastrously wrong, chase your new friend into the time gate. Okay, that doesn't explain any of the stuff that you could actually do with Lean Square. It's just like, oh, here's a summary of what you can do. Later on, meet Frog, fight Yakra. It's like, okay, what do you do to fight Yakra? How do you beat Yakra? It doesn't explain any of that. I mean, it does here and there. It's like, for the big dragon tank, it's like, first, take out the tank head in order to prevent it from casting cure spells. It's like, okay, that makes sense. It's a little helpful there, but it's mainly just like a summary of the game, and it's a little too easy to read ahead. I'm just kind of glad it doesn't really spoil anything big until like slightly later. I mean, it kind of does, but it doesn't at the same time until you get to the endings page anyway, where the endings page is hilarious to me because the endings page, it starts off by showing one of the side quests that you could possibly do, and it's called Luca's Mother's Horrible Accident. That is the worst way to describe it, and explaining how to do the side quest. If you don't want to witness this tragic event, heed this: Luca's mother's name is Laura. Okay, what do I do with that information? I have no idea. It doesn't tell you that that's supposed to be the password. It's just like, her name's Laura. Okay. But moving on to the endings on here, some of them, this is like a little like teaser for what's to come because this isn't really the best described. Crono the Dark Mage. Defeat Lavos at the return in 600 AD for the second time before obtaining the hero medal. Okay, I guess that explains how you get the ending per se. But the thing is, this isn't really much of a strategy guide because they're not listed in order of how to get them. So this is actually like some odd amount of endings in before you even are supposed to get that one. Frog versus Magus, which I guess that one is the next step up, but it's not because there's still endings in between those. Like this one, beat Lavos after getting Frog and the Massamoon, but there's still more endings that you can get in between those. Green-Blooded Ancestry, that one is like the earliest one you can get technically, but the funniest thing about this guy, which I think makes it worth a lot of money, is this typo. Resurrecting Chrono. I don't even want to know how they managed that one because the L button is possibly the furthest thing away from the A button on the keyboard, except for maybe P, which if it was Chronip, that'd be hilarious, but it's not. After Chrono's death, okay, they immediately get it right anyway. Dramatic staff credits. Defeat Lavos after the theft of the gate holder. I guess it's weirdly worded, but yeah, that, ironically enough, is an ending that you should probably get a little bit, like they probably should have put this one a little bit sooner in the list. I don't know. Which is even funnier because Happily Ever After is not a way to describe that ending in the slightest. Defeat Lavos after attaining the Hero's Badge in 600 AD and before the Welcoming Bash in the Prehistoric Age. Yeah, we'll find out why this one just does not explain that ending in the slightest. The Frog Prince. After the servicing in the Black Omen, defeat Magus at the North Cape in 10,000 BC. After that, finish the game. During the ending credits, you should see Frog in his real human form. This is not an ending. This is an addendum to a standard ending of the game. Magus vs. Lavos. Beat Lavos after arriving in 10,000 BC, but before the Undersea Shrine. This ending shows Magus going up against Lavos alone. That is very not descriptive in the slightest. There are actually 2 ways of getting this ending, and I'll go into them later. Dino Shores is actually kind of a funny ending, but you basically do this one after you defeat Magus, but before you fight the Black Tyranno. There's a little bit more to it than that, but I'll get to it when we get to it. And there's not really too much about going in to meet the staff. It's basically the developer endings credits, which is kind of neat. But we'll get into that when we get into that as well. Moving on, that's pretty much it from this guide. I still love this thing, I really do. I just wish it was a little bit more in depth and it was a little bit more than 8 pages. Be kind of a better collector's item, I guess, but it's still worth a lot of money. So back to the main menu here, you notice that there's an extra option. If I go to the extra option, I can go over to ending log, where I can see all the endings I've already unlocked. In this case, I went through and got them all. If you do one of these endings here, where it's like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, you unlock all the variations without having to do all the variations of it, which is nice because there are 12 main endings to this game. Quite a bit of a list, but there is a 13th one I don't have unlocked yet. That is DS content, which I haven't actually touched upon that yet. I will in the future, but not now. So I haven't done that one. We'll see that when it comes. Before that though, there is one quote-unquote ending that isn't in this list, and it's the one where you fail. I might as well just show that off in its entirety really quick because you're not going to see it anywhere else, and it's actually more of a chore for me to lose this battle than it is to win. You can't be serious, come on. Oh, it's just... Come on, please. Please. Thank you. Wow. Truce! Direct impact on truce! Calm yourself. Give me a full status update. Poor Chorus, Medina! They've all been destroyed! Director, we've got incoming! Evacuate to the shelter dome. Director, sir, you must come with us! There's no time. Get moving! Yes, sir! Lavos. Either way, we've all seen 1-1, where that was defeat Lavos after reviving Chrono at Death Peak with the Epic and Magus. It doesn't matter how you get to this ending, you pretty much can go through the Black Omen like I did, you can use the bucket, or you can even use the Epic to just crash into Lavos if it's winged at the time. If it's not winged at the time, which it shouldn't be, it should be winged, then you should be fine. But yeah, that is the main one, that's the one I got. The other ones are with the Epic, but without Magus. There isn't too much variation here when it comes to the ending, but I will play whatever differences there are, and I'll just show them as they come. So one of the variations that can happen is when Crono is led into the throne room, instead of the Chancellor being there, it will be Pierre if you have not saved the Chancellor when you did that side quest. The next slight change is also a side quest one, where if you haven't saved Laura, she will be sitting down in the square instead. This pertains to Beyond Time and Reunion, which is both 1 and 2, those versions of the ending. It is kind of sad that she's just kind of sitting there looking at the stars instead of wanting to dance. I felt like there's still more you could have done for her. And sadly, since it doesn't use your save data in the Steam release, it's always going to default to this whenever you view the endings, so that's even more unfortunate. The first of the big changes starts here, where instead of like everybody being here, Magus is not here. And instead of him leaving and Ma responding about him looking for Shala, it's pretty much just him just not being here. But during the credits portion, after Chrono's mom goes into the teleporter, you see this little scene of Frog changing back. And you get a, albeit rather brief glimpse of Frog as Glenn. Next one after that is Beyond Time 3, which is without the epic, but with Magus. So you don't have the epic and you have Magus. So the ending's slightly different there. And the ending from here is very different, so I might as well just say the lines as if it was new. I thought Lavos opened the gates, but now that I think about it, I might have been wrong. What do you mean? I think an even greater force wanted us to experience these events. Oh, there you are, Princess. His Grace is looking for you. So we just go down into the square, and the ending sort of plays out similarly as before. I have a gift for you, Nadia, to commemorate this day. That's Nadia's bell, a replacement for Lean's bell, which has rung for the last 400 years. Henceforth, Nadia's bell will ring proudly instead. It's beautiful! Now, you can do the honors. Ugh. And Crono goes to help Marl here, which is rather sweet in itself, because normally it's the king doing it. And then she jumps off with the balloons. Hey, Crono, help me! I love that they have Luca attempting to do something here, but it's just her casting magic animation, so it's like, yeah, pop the balloons with your fire magic. Either way, the ending, instead of focusing on the rest of the main cast, this ending focuses on Crono and Marl instead, and basically their love. In the Steam release, the achievement for this, the icon, is actually them holding onto the balloon here, which is kind of nice, but it's not the quote-unquote canon version of the ending, so I don't see why they used it. I feel like it would have been better if they did like the epic or something, or just Crono just like, yeah, or something. I don't know. It's just a little weird to me, but I don't really put this ending with the Beyond Time part of it because it's like the secondary ending because you don't have the epic here, so it's not the quote-unquote true ending. But it's kind of a letdown compared to the first ending where it just shows everything being all happy and like all the timelines are just fixed and everything's good. Here it's just like, we're on balloons and it's fun, I guess. But yeah, it's just this the whole time. I am going to show the rest of it though, because it is something that we haven't actually seen yet. Although it doesn't really matter too much because it's going to be establishing shots of just the balloons. And with the Steam version having the weird graphic thing going on here, it's not the best looking thing in the world, but it's still kind of sentimental, and I could definitely see some people preferring this one over just the standard. But I know I'm going to be talking a lot here because I know this song will get claimed for copyright more than likely, so I kind of lowered it just in case. But I think this is like the only time I really got to worry about it in this entire episode. This hour-and-a-half long episode, whatever. I know it's going to be a very, very long episode, so it's about as slow as they are going towards the moon. I could cut it here, but it's still something you technically haven't seen yet. But it is about to end very, very shortly. It's just going to show them coming up from the side really shortly, I think right about now. There it is. That was a total guess, by the way. I'm just looking at the footage while saying this, so it's actually kind of funny. But yeah, wow, that really does look pretty bad. Wow. Okay, then. And this is the last of the uniqueness for this version in the ending. Once it actually pans up into the stars here, it's just pretty much the exact same as it was in Beyond Time 1. So I'm going to skip to the next version of this ending. The last variation is Beyond Time 4, which you defeat Lavos after reviving Crono at Death Peak without the epic or Magus. The only real difference here is that the Magus scenes that would show in the normal ending just aren't there as well. And the epic scene where they go and chase after Crono's mom is not there as well. So it's pretty much just an amalgamation of the balloon version and no Magus. The next ending in the list is Reunion. This one you have to beat the game by going through the Black Omen, using the bucket, or using epic. but before you revive Chrono using the Chrono trigger. If you're following along with the LP, around part 23 is when you could do this ending. With Lavos dead, the gates will no doubt soon be closed. Return to your age now, I risk being lost time's flow. Let's go back in time and save Crono! Kino wait for Ayla. Aren't you worried about him? It seems this is truly the last we'll see of each other. Don't you? I must return to the Middle Ages to protect Queen Lean. And Magus just doesn't say a word, and he gets stuck on the gate, of course. Ayla, go home. Bye, be strong. Farewell. Goodbye. How can you all be so heartless? Death is a fate we can't escape, Marl. Someday we'll all pass away. Wait! There's something... Have they all left already? Forgot to give them this. Oh well. It's the final night of the Millennial Fair. Come along with Princess Nadia, home safe at last. May Guardia prosper for another 1,000 years. Let the Moonlight Parade begin. And this is incredibly sad because it's just Marl just walking in this parade looking super depressed by herself. I mean, it's the standard walk sprite, but it just seems so depressing because it's just her alone. The funny thing about this, though, is that she actually does wind up going past the dancers. I don't know if it's just the Steam version. I don't remember how it worked in the originals. But she outpaces the dancers, and it's just weird to me. And now for another depressing moment. Have you seen that boy of mine? He was really looking forward to this fair. Where do you suppose he is? It's terribly troublesome having no one around to look after the pets. Yeah, that's... oh. There's nothing really else different about this particular portion of the ending, so we might as well just head forward and notice that Luca is just kind of standing there. So if we follow her along, we get this little bit of text about how she's like, I thought Lavos opened the gates again. I believe this is actually a portion that only shows up if you haven't done the Luca side quest with the forest camp scene that they talk about the greater force and all that. It's awfully easy to mess things up traveling through time. We should probably dismantle the epic, shouldn't we? We'd never be able to see any of the others again, though. I wonder how everyone is doing. Give Time Egg. How many times must I ask you to calm down? You won't be able to bring him back if you're in such a rush. Okay, understand. Now hurry, give. Oh no, he is escaping. Wait, what's going on? That time egg of his can revive him. Revive who? You mean Crono? Let's go after them. Go after them? But the gate's ready. Luca, you don't mean... We still have the time machine. Yeah. Skipping ahead a little bit, the rest of the ending does play the same out as Beyond Time 1, where they just take off on the epic and they just go through all the time periods, because nothing's changed from that. For some reason, everyone's just kind of chilling in their own time periods. It's a little weird. But the biggest difference is, instead of saying the end on the earth there, it switches over to this tree, where it'll play the rest of the credits out, a little bit slowly, but yeah, get used to it in this episode because it's going to show a lot of credits. I don't really need to skip ahead here because they are going rather fast. But the biggest difference is at the end of it, it shows Chrono walking in, like in a shadow, where the clouds are like red or blue. It's weird depending on the version you play, it changes the color of these clouds for some reason. I don't know why, it just is. But yeah, the credits don't last that long. It's just like, there it is, she turns, and they are red in this version of it. I believe it's blue in the DS version, or the Super Nintendo version. I don't remember which one, it's just weird that they do that. But at the end of it all, we get this little extra image that says the end. It's a little sweet, it's a little nice ending touch to this one, and it really does show that this story is more about Marl than it is about Chrono, honestly. And then after that is Reunion 2, with the epic but without Magus. In this version, the ending, Magus doesn't appear in the intro for it, so the little scene of him getting in the teleporter and just taking off is just not here either. And since Magus is no longer around, we get our very next difference at this point when everyone just jumps in. Instead of Frog, we get the human version of Glenn, and we do get to see a side profile of his face here, which is kind of nice, but the rest of this part plays out mostly the same, except for when Marl decides to talk to Glenn, which actually does give us a little bit more sprite work on this version of Glenn, or Frog, because we actually do get to see him walk from behind and a couple extra little small animations. This game has all the nice touches. Their conversation is mostly the same, aside from just like a little bit of a small moment, like right before he leaves. And by the way, who are you? They're gone. Could that have been Frog? He's handsome. Let's go after them. Go after them, but the gate's are ready. Luca, you don't mean... We still have a time machine. Yeah. Oh, Frog, why didn't you ever tell us you are a handsome dish? And the ending pretty much plays out the same as it was in Beyond Time 1 from here. I just find it funny that this scene still plays. I don't know if it's a bug or not, or if this showed up in the original SNES version. It's just funny to me. And then after that is Reunion 3. Without the epic, but with Magus. This one's a little odd because instead of just following Luca, everybody else is just here. And you gotta click on them in order to bring them up to the back of the square. It's just weird that it's like this because it does just allow you to go around this area and notice that some things are blocked off like they weren't before. And then Magus is in this corner as well. It's a little weird that you gotta do that little extra step if you wanna click on everybody to bring them up here, just so they're here already. Little small weird of an extra step, but it does change how this scene plays out. How did everyone get here? I thought the gate had been shut. I tinkered with a telepod. And made it into a time machine? You're the man from the end of time. You left behind the time egg. The time egg, you see, is blah 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 blah. Do you understand? So, in other words, we can get Chrono back? Yes, it is possible. So, that's why you're all here. Now let's go get Chrono! Oh, there you are, Princess. Mrs. Grace is looking for you. Why don't you stay here with your dad? But... don't worry, I'll bring the big dummy back. Trust me. And everybody decides to leave without Marl. And this leads back into the balloon scene. They do have one little small touching moment in this scene though, compared to the other versions, where the king helps Marl instead of Crono. It's a little bit touching considering the father-daughter relationship, but the rest of the scene plays out mostly the same as well as the credits. Until the end of the credits, of course. Hey, help me! And instead of the usual credits theme, it plays Marl's song instead. And it's playing the credits once more. It's starting to show that these credits and the endings are starting to get a little bit less inspired as they go along. Here it just shows Marl coming in from the side, and then she lands by the tree at Death's Peak. I don't know how she was on the balloons for over 1,000 years, but it is what it is. And the credits just play out like normal, and then it just shows Chrono up here. And 4 is literally what we just watched, except Magus just does not appear and we don't click on him either. The next ending in the list is the Dream Project. The Dream Project, you defeat Lavos in the Ocean Palace, are immediately after starting a new game plus. This is the only 2 times that you can actually get this ending. So around part 1 or part 21 where you're fighting Lavos in the Ocean Palace. Those are the only times you get this ending, and it's considered the hardest original ending of the game. So, this is the developer ending of the game that I mentioned before. The developer ending of the game, you see all these people in the end of the time, and you're just like, what's going on? But the moment you start talking to people, it becomes immediately obvious. Kubo and I have been practicing our anti-stress massages on each other instead of working. You notice that their names are pretty much just characters, or in this case, the people that made this game. Good job, you reached the hardest ending. This is the Chrono Trigger development room. Take a walk around and hear what everyone has to say. Hope you and all the staff who worked on this game took something from it and will continue to grow and prosper, no matter what the future holds in store. Come back to see me again once you complete your rounds. So we gotta go around and talk to everybody here. 1-4, come on 1-4. No, I lost again! I guess he's talking about the lottery in this case, or some horse races maybe? What are you looking at, buddy? Trying to start something? Come on, bring it on! As you can immediately tell, this is a joke ending. But there's still a lot more. All these little warps are actually more rooms that we can go into. I'm just a map design noob. Well, my dad's a pro gamer. He pawns noobs at the arcade. As you can tell, this is new versus the original SNES version of these texts. Well, now it's my turn to set off on the journey and see what the world holds in store. I wonder if I shall ever return. I'm just happy to have been able to work on this game. Congratulations, did you have a good time? You want a buggy map repaired? 10 million G ought to cover the cost. Yeah, definitely a joke ending. I can't even remember the last time I cut my hair. Look how long it is. Better get myself to a barber. I went into the same one again. There we go. Boom, 9,999 damage, you do. How was the art? I had a blast working on it. That's a pretty good costume you got on there, kid. Wait, it's really you, isn't it? Sorry, I thought you were just a cosplayer. I've been working 24 hours a day. Love was in the air, but then the engines cut out. I'm a consummate professional. Man, that was a long haul. I got my first gray hair working on this game. Lost weight too. Hey, do you think there will be a sequel? Yes. That'd be nice, huh? You could also talk to them again. Hey, do you think there'll be a sequel? No. That'd be nice, huh? They give the same response no matter what. Thank you. No applause necessary. Just send money. Hope you enjoyed all my events. Another one of my masterpieces will be available soon, so stay tuned. I wonder what this actually was for, because in this case, all this is from the DS translation. So this is new text that wasn't in the SNES version. No, this is stuff. You should get a load of Final Fantasy IV. Except for maybe that one. Which, actually, Final Fantasy IV on the DS was top, so yeah. So tired, but so hungry. One thing at a time. Shh, I'm in the middle of something good here. Legendary Programmer 29 that seeks a special zone. Not quite hero material, but still stuff of legend. Waiting for those cards and letters. And the weird thing is, you actually fight this group. Which, yeah, we could just auto this. It goes stupidly quick. These enemies are pretty weak, which is weird that we're killing some of the programmers of this game. I don't know what to think of that. But yeah, we get a mid-ether that we're never going to see or use. And that's pretty much it for this room as well, so we might as well just head out of here. And go to the next one. Well done. Thank you for that information. Hey, you promised to name this game Hoshino Trigger. Thanks for playing Chrono Trigger all the way to the end. Here, have a kiss to remember it by. And I'll click on you eventually. I'll get you eventually. 3, 2, there we go. Please feed me, I'm starving. 3, 2, 1, reset. I think they made it not as dim in this version of the game so people don't freak out. But that was Tetsuya Nomura for you, just trolling. The Jetbike Race Programmer's high score is 2110. Bet you can't beat that. I lost 22 pounds working on this game. Thanks for playing. Are you a girl? No. Like they slash. If you say yes, they're like, So either way, you get like a weird response. Ever since I started growing out my hair, I've been getting a lot of attention from guys. I can't believe it. Look closely and you'll appreciate the little details on the monsters. Like here, check out the shadow on this guy's sword. See it? I can kind of see the pixelization on the sword there, making it look like it's more of a not flat object. Congrats on finishing the game. Why don't you spend some time outside tomorrow? Yes, such a moving story in that 128th entry of the Chrono series. Oh. What? Oh no, this must be the wrong era. And the completely wrong era. What do you think? Hope you had a good time. See you in another game. Imagine this series actually went on like Final Fantasy instead. Hey out there in TV land, how we're doing today? It's me, Minamu Daishima. Let's buy all the games, okay? None of this renting and borrowing stuff. Yeah, no. I love a good quest, don't you? Of course, I love story-based games. They're actually really fun. Sorry, it's a bad makeup day for Takeshi Tokita. So you're never gonna show me your face, huh? So let's get out of here, and we got one more of these to go. I just helped the Chrono Trigger team a tiny bit. Good job, guys. I mean, you got into developer ending, so that should say something. This was my first project. Phew, I was ever nervous. What a relief, it's over. Oops, did I forget to insert a few parts again? I'm so sorry, it won't happen again. I wonder what few parts you did miss. Having 32 megs means we could use a lot of graphics. Using a lot of graphics means you can create a lot of graphics. It was hard work, but it sure was fun. Did you see the little character animations on the world map, Ribbit? There's Luca reading a book, Chrono all in rush. Know what I'm talking about, Ribbit? Yes, I do, and they're actually changed for the same port. The Tyranno layer. Yep, it was my bright idea to put the switch in the mouth. Sorry about that. Yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal, honestly. Did you figure out my Pyoza dance attack? See you again in another game soon. But yeah, there's a little bit more. If we go over in this direction here, we can actually go down this way. It's a little weird that it's kind of like a guided trail, but you gotta find out how to get over here. So you go over here, talk to the cat. There are more than 10 different endings. Have you seen them all? The ending you get depends on when you challenge Lavos. Better find the switch soon or it'll all go up in flames. It's actually kind of nice getting that information about the endings though, because if you weren't aware of game guides or anything, but nowadays it's not that big of a deal because of online. But back then, not knowing how many endings there were and then getting this ending because you decided to see about getting it early, you're like, okay, let's go find all the endings. But yeah, there's a little bit more to this place. Going back in this direction, we can actually jump over to this statue. If we click on it, no storm lasts forever. Even eternity must come to an end, I think. And then it makes you just jump back. It's weird, but that's the last thing we really need to talk to, but of course. It's like a small little spot that you gotta click on the statue again, make it talk, and then you can just jump back over. It's a little annoying. Just make sure to not walk in that direct spot, and then you won't jump over there. And walk in those, kind of annoying. But yeah, once you're done talking to everybody, well then, open the gates to the Dream Team. We get to see the Dream Team themselves. We finally get to see the Dream Team themselves, starting off with Kira Toriyama. Hey Sasuke, Kika, Pop's working on games too. Aren't you seeing this? Isn't this great? It's backwards. I have nothing better to do than read this, of course. Now run along, boys and girls. It's a little annoying, but I guess he's a little bit of a troll. Wow, the years sure do fly by. This game was first released in 1995. Guess what? I hit 100,000 yen jackpot. Did you know? That's actually kind of neat. Boy, it used to be that I'd get thinner after each game. Now I'm gaining weight instead. I must be getting old. Congratulations on finishing the game. You're now a member of the Dream Team. And since you blew through the game so fast, you adjusted the credits to suit your style. I love this so much. But yeah, that is the ending for the Dream Project. The next ending is the Successor of Guardia. That one, you defeat Lavos after saving Lean and Marl, but before visiting the End of Time. So after you immediately return back from 600 AD, that is about part 4 in my LP, you can get this ending. This ending is a little slightly weird and doesn't make too much sense when you start getting into it. So, we just get taken back to the present time. Nothing too special here until we start talking to people. Princess, wearing our disguise out again, are we? Everyone is pretty much saying the exact same thing when we talk to them, and we hear a little bit of a ribbit. Aside from this guy, for some reason, we get so exchange silver points for some reason. And we can just eat this guy's food, and it's like we are just back in the normal game, except everyone is just a little weird with the fact that they're croaking. Imagine, I hardly recognize you with all that makeup. There's a race underway, yeah, the same thing as before, no big deal there. Everyone's just talking about makeup and how everything just slightly weird. Princess, we're wearing our disguise out again, are we? Something strange here. Let's go back to the castle. And then it jumps us over to the castle. Father, the townspeople are acting strangely. Calm down, Nadia. Where have you been? I see you've been hopping around dressed like a human again. Everyone keeps saying that. What's that supposed to mean? You know very well what it means. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but there's no need for you to keep dressing that way. It must be uncomfortable. Come, you're just in time. I was about to take a look at this 400-year-old film of our ancestors' wedding. We found it when we were cleaning up the treasury. Maro, tell me you're not a... Yeah, this ending just goes to show that everybody in town and in the entire kingdom are frogs now. Because of a certain little thing that happened. After we saved the queen, we did nothing else but beat Lavos, right? So, we see this happen. Which is weird to me, because this doesn't make a remote bit of sense. Frog marries the queen who was already with the king, first of all, but still. And then, everybody in the town is suddenly frogs? Versus just the royal family line, which would make more sense? I just don't get it. It makes no sense to me, but I guess the leap in logic and the comedy of it makes it funny. But it's kind of a lazy ending when you really think about it even slightly. Well, it does get a funny moment though, right about now. No! Good Night is a little bit of a dumb ending, honestly. You defeat Lavos after visiting the End of Time, but before returning to the Middle Ages. You can get this ending around part 7 of my LP. It is literally credits. That's it. And it shows the monsters just kind of having a fun time. That's about it. The next ending after that is the Legendary Hero. Defeat Lavos after arriving in the Middle Ages but before obtaining the Hero's Badge from Tata. So pretty much just before defeating Masamune and getting the Hero's Badge. This is around part 10 of my LP. This ending does just start off with credits, but I love that they use Robo's theme here because technically a lot of people call this the Rick Roll song, which I can kinda see it. But yeah, this ending does have some substance to it because after just a little bit of credits, we do see a little bit extra, which is kinda nice. Magus! Yeah, it's all played out for just a little small gag. But it is kind of funny, I just don't see how Tata would have been able to get through all that. The next ending is the Unknown Past. Defeat Lavos after attaining the Hero's Badge from Tata, but before the Gate Key is stolen in prehistory. This one is about part 11 in my LP around the beginning of the episode. Keep in mind that the GamePro thing I showed off in the beginning of the episode listed this one as happily ever after. It just showed the main trio just kind of messing around, and then everybody else is like, yeah, everything's fine. But then you get this really, really depressing moment of Robo sitting in darkness because his time period doesn't actually, quote unquote, exist anymore, if you want to look at it that way. But he's still happy about it and does say the end. The next one is People of the Times. Defeat Lavos after regaining the gate key, but before giving the restored Masamune the frog. This is about part 13 of my LP. It's right before you get Frog back in your party. And this is where I think the originality of the extra endings is starting to fall apart a little bit, because this is just a collage of just people throughout the game here and there. It's a little it's not great, but it is kind of funny though, because there is one sprite of a character from antiquity that never actually shows up in the game. I mean, they do technically. It's just like a palette swap of one of them. And it's just weird that it's a blue version of a character from Zeal that just never shows up in the game anywhere. I don't know why, specifically in this credits, but I think it might have been like a pre-designed version of it, or maybe they were picking colors and they decided on that one first and then decided to change it up to make it match the aesthetic a little bit better. It's going to show up very shortly. I think it's right on this screen. Yep, right there. This one right here, it's like a blue version with a purple scarf. Never shows up anywhere else, just in this credits. That's it. And then you just get more characters. It's a pretty lackluster ending, honestly. Like, the only real neat thing about it is at the direct end, they have a little animation with the pendant, but it's just a sparkle over the pendant. It's nothing too special. I think this was probably maybe the laziest ending of the bunch. Which is saying something when another of the endings is just monsters playing about and just kind of making little comedy things happen, which even then, those became like a big giant animation advertisement for the game, which there was like a big quote-unquote monster version of the Millennial Affair, which became like an anime, and those monsters were in it. Whereas here, it's just people. It's so boring. I don't, like, they could have made something out of this one. I guess maybe they should have just put something else here. I don't know. I mean, a lot of these are just, you can tell that they didn't really have an idea what to put here, but they should have at least had some form of animation, or maybe a text box or some like comedy gag, which they do have later, and we will see. The next one after that is the Oath. Defeat Lavos after giving the Masamune the frog, but before facing Magus. So around part 13 of my LP, right after you get Frog in your party. Phew, this one's a bit stubborn. My apologies, Luca. You don't have to apologize. Those humans who put all these weapons on you in the first place. That idiot's the one who should be apologizing, sitting around sleeping all the time. I should wake him up and make him help. Don't you dare! Let him sleep. He's earned it, fighting that long and hard. Fine, whatever. Where are you going? I just made some tea. I have some business to attend. Fool. So, you wish to die an early death? Somebody's gotten himself in too deep. Thinking one man is enough to take me. You! Cast open the gates that lie betwixt heaven and earth. In exchange for the life of this world. So, you came. Fiends and humans alike are nigh destroyed. Save you and I, the ones who remain are but sheep. The victor of this battle shall have the world as his prize. No, he shall have the future. It seems as such, but it is no prize I seek. It is vengeance! Ah, the Masamune. Very well. Come, if it is death you seek. And the rest of the credits play out while we hear attacks and battle noises in the background. It shows that there's a very long fight between the two going on, but I actually do like that this ending actually has some substance compared to the last one. Speaking of the ending, the direct beginning where it shows Frog tripping, that's actually artwork that was made for this game, which is funny when you think about it because it's technically sort of spoiling a portion of the ending, but you don't really know the context of it, so it just shows it as a funny comedic artwork moment. But yeah, I finally do like that, again, some substance in an ending. And we actually do get to see who might be the victor at the end of the credits here. I did say might after all. We have no idea which person in the cape that is. The next one after that is the Dino Age. Defeat Lavos after facing Magus, but before facing Azala. This is about part 15 of my LP, and a little bit of part 16. Chrono. Chrono? Chrono, are you still sleeping? Come on, sleepyhead, it's time to get up. Dear me, I'd forgotten how beautiful Lean's spell sounds. You must have been so excited about the Millennial Fair that you couldn't sleep last night, could you? Oh, you better not let that giddiness get you in any trouble. I want you to behave yourself today. Come on now. Out of bed with you. Yeah, this ending, I think we feel like we might have forgotten something important. Maybe something about stopping the reptites? Not sure exactly how us not doing that makes it so the reptites are the dominant race, considering Lavos made a big crater over the reptite lair to begin with, but it is what it is, and this ending is really funny because of that. It just, everybody's reptites now for some reason, and I guess we saved the world as reptites or something? I mean, time paradoxiness, but it's still really funny thinking about it. Everyone's just reptites now. Every scene that happened before is going to happen again, just like we saw just moments ago. I suppose we did explore a lot while we were just going around the main town and just checking everything out. Same thing here, just go up into the bar, I guess, and just check things out and talk to people and such. But there's a little bit more to it than that. How about going to the fair itself, where there is a human on display in the race, but the implications of that is a little bit different here? Are they, like, free? Or are they, like, normal? Are they the only human left? Who knows? But even then, there's still one fateful meeting that we probably should check out very shortly as well, because now we are heading north inside the Millennial Fair, and we meet a reptite version of Marl who looks exactly like us. And unfortunately, that's pretty much it for the gags of this ending. It's just, the rest of this is just credits. But at the direct end, even the game feels like it's taunting you, because it's like, are you sure you didn't forget something? I mean, everything looks normal, but is it really normal? Because in this situation, you think that, like, everybody's reptites now and you fixed everything, but you probably would be none the wiser, because that's what you always were, right? But yeah, Zala comes out and is just like, yeah, you forgot something, but Azala dies by the end screen, so I guess everything's fixed again. The next one is What the Prophet Seeks. This one's a little bit of a weird ending because you gotta defeat Lavos after facing Azala, but before Shala opens the sealed door. This one's a bit funky because you can also get this ending if you get sealed out of 12,000 BC. Like right as you get sealed out, you can also get this ending too. So pretty much part 17 and part 18 of my LP. But before Shala opens the sealed door, of course. Now this ending's a little bit of a weird one, because since we didn't open the sealed door, we have no real way of getting into the Ocean Palace. So we never actually saw Lavos normally, nor did we find out what happened to Magus. Magus, for all intents and purposes, is completely lost to us. So Frog just never changes back. He's always going to be a frog at this point. So I guess he pretty much decides that, hey, this is what it is now. So he just is Frog. Meanwhile, behind the door that we just haven't been able to access because we never bothered charging our pendant, or even saw the door even being open anyway, everyone gets to go to the Ocean Palace, and Magus gets to try to enact his plan of actually taking out Lavos, where we already did. We just went over there and just kind of went around the doors like, oh, we can't get in this door, so I guess we'll just go and kill Lavos anyway. So everybody's just pretty much all fine. Frog's okay. He's kind of like, oh, hey, I'm just going to be a frog forever now. Magus is going to enact his plan. And then everybody else is kind of just, they're doing their own thing. They already saved the world, so what else is there left to do aside from just hang out and have fun? I mean, I guess they never really resolved everything because Magus is still just doing what he's doing. He gets to go to the Ocean Palace and kind of explore on his own, but there's nothing really stopping him. Like, he's not being an intruder because he's still there under the pretext that he's a prophet. So he could just kind of waltz in and then face Lavos without a problem. Meanwhile, like I said, everyone's just kind of chilling. They're doing their own thing. It's a really funny take on how things just kind of happened. I just love the fact it's like, oh, can't open the door? Let's make our own door. It's weird, though, that on some screens, like, say, this pause green-ish yellow thing, the flags are still moving. Everything still kind of seems slightly rushed about it. But past that, it is kind of a neat version of the ending. It's just kind of hampered by the fact that there is another ending that comes immediately after this one that doesn't have any sort of resolution to it. Like, this one actually shows events and what happens, but there's another version of this ending that, again, it's weird. It's gonna be happening really shortly anyway. But yeah, there is a little bit of dialogue in this little part, so I'm just gonna shut up for a moment because I'm about to spat out the dialogue right about now. If history is a change, let it change. If the world is to be destroyed, so be it. If I must vanish from existence to see this done, then I shall welcome that fate. I'm coming, Lavos. And that's pretty much it to this ending. It's left kind of ambiguous if he did it or not, which more than likely he didn't, considering the events of the main game, and then we just kind of came later and did it anyway. I guess it really depends on what quote-unquote way you entered, if he fights Lavos or not, but at the end of the day, he didn't do it, so that's it to this ending. And the last of the normal 12 endings is Memory Lane. Defeat Lavos after Shala opens the sealed door, but before restoring light to the pendant. This one, honestly, is a little weird. It has such a small time frame of actually being able to do it. You have to do this right after she opens the door, but before you power up your pendant. It's that small of a time frame window. You literally had to leave the Magic Kingdom. You had to go so far out of your way to get this ending. And that's around part 17. What? It's over already? That is what the end usually means. But things were just starting to get interesting. Well, let's see if we can get these words out of the way then. Yeah, take them away. Then we can take a little trip down memory lane and reflect on all the good times we had. Art director, would you mind? First, let's take a closer look at Lean Square. There's the steel runner. I just don't think I could go for one like that. The armor would poke you all the time. Forget that! Can you imagine what the inside of that armor must smell like? What a lovely thought, Luca. Let's get on with the show, okay? Next up is your home, Guardia Castle. This one's a very nice memory. Isn't it ever? Phew! He was the only one you couldn't bring yourself to shoot with your Zonker, wasn't he? His name's Peter. He's not really a man, though. I knew that! Oh, it's Pierre! Wouldn't want anything to do with someone like that. Obviously corrupt. Someone ought to put him on trial. This next one just doesn't have any spark. Where's the energy? And try to make the best of your situation. Cheer up! We might not be any better than him if we were in his shoes. Well, good luck sewing that seat of yours. There's Johnny, Mr. Speed himself. I don't know about a guy whose greatest talent is being fast. Hey, look close, he's really a tricycle. No thanks. Try again when you learn the ride, buddy. There's that stuffed shirt, Cyrus. He is awfully handsome. But those clothes have got to go. Oh, and did you know he plucks his eyebrows? Ugh, you gotta be joking. Still a hunk though. Toma, now he's definitely my type. Aw, he's just a sot. Probably has dozens of girlfriends too. Our boyfriends, come to think of it. He never really talked about his love life. What about him, that Kino guy? Forget it, total Neanderthal. But the single-mindedness is kind of cute, don't you think? He walks like a duck. He was a nice enough guy though. Yeah, he meant well.
This is your idea of a nice little trip down memory lane?
Chrono? I guess we got a little carried away. Say, what era should we go to now? One with lots of fun things to do.
Now!
Now as in the present? Okay, the present it is. So I guess we won't be needing this gate key anymore, would we? Hey, wait for me! And that's all the main endings for Chrono Trigger, aside from the last one, which is DS content. And I haven't actually got to that yet, but I know what you're thinking. I did mention the Dream Project has two ways of getting to it. The beginning of the game, or in the Ocean Palace. I actually did a recording at the beginning of the game. You could do it with Chrono and R Mara alone, and I decided to just do it with Chrono. So this is my recording of it. It's gonna be pretty much the remainder of the video. I didn't really have anything to say about this fight, honestly, just doing it with Chrono alone, honestly. Like in real time, because I wasn't sure if I could actually do it right away, and I decided to just wing it, and of course, you're seeing this recording, so I obviously did it. But this fight itself is just kind of a war of attrition. I have more than enough items to just sit there and keep healing myself constantly. So if I wanted to make this challenging, I would not use heal items, but there'd be no way I could win at that point because Chrono doesn't really have great healing, or if any at all, really. But yeah, it's pretty much just me constantly using Frenzy on the first part until we just kind of wrecked and done and over with. No big deal there. I don't have the DS weapons yet or anything like that. I don't have anything fancy. I just have the rainbow and I just have some good stuff. So I'm just pretty much just going in, making sure I'm just all topped off as much as I possibly can. Just wasting all my stuff, not a big deal. I don't really care about wasting my potions because, again, I am at the end of the game. I could just go and buy them whenever I want. But yeah, this save file is pretty much like 4 minutes in, not even. Just a little bit stronger than I was when I first beat the game. Just a teeny bit stronger, but I actually did a little bit more after this, so I do have a little bit more levels because this is actually before I went and got all the endings. I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I wound up doing it. But yeah, the second fight isn't really anything too special either. It's just me spamming the same stuff I would be doing with everybody else. The only difference is that since I don't have anybody else with me, I'm just doing all the work with Chrono. And it takes a little bit longer. So the second half of the fight here where it does that potential I'm gonna keep powering up thing and then I might die because it's gonna be too strong for me to deal with. Not that big of a deal because I'm just gonna keep spamming Luminaire until both the arms are gone and then just keep frenzying the face. There isn't really too much I gotta do aside from just keep watching my health, and with the extra bar or the Steam version, it makes it a little bit easier, despite the fact that I even have the HP thing right there on the screen at all times anyway. So, again, not that big of a deal. This fight itself, I just get rid of both arms and attack the face. The main challenge is pretty much the second one coming up. Here, I'm not really too worried about wasting any of my items. I could be using elixirs all day. I don't have to bother using mega elixirs. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but honestly, since I only have one character, I could just use the elixirs now. Anything that I could use the heal, just get my MP up constantly, just keep doing all my stuff. And the fights themselves go down after a bit. It's literally just Lavos attacking Crono constantly, except he's just chugging potions, chugging elixirs the entire time. Like, I swear, it's literally Lavos going up against someone who's so drunk on potions right now, literally just holding an infinite bottle of potion, just swing, chug, swing, chug. This is the entire fight in a nutshell. And yeah, right there, kind of forgot that I gotta wait until he does Dark Will, and then I could actually hit him with good damage. That was my bad, but yeah, I also, yeah, this is also kind of a problem because he does do the thing where he can take away my status immunity and then I just get something. So if I get confused, that's the worst one I could possibly get, but anything else, I really don't care. And then I just keep welling on him at some point because eventually the confuse will go away and then the fight is just as normal. So it's not really that big of a deal anyway. I can use Panaceas to get rid of any status elements he may give me that isn't confused, because confused I won't be able to control myself. But yeah, past that, this part of the fight isn't really that long. I think it's about half over by this point. I'm commentating over what I did before, as you can tell, because I already pre-recorded this particular one. I, again, would have done it in real time, but I was actually recording all the endings in my off time, so a lot of that stuff was me talking over the endings because I pre-recorded it. Because what is like an hour and a half long episode for you was literally all day for me. I did this in a day, surprisingly. I did this entire thing in a day, which is kind of nice. It was... I'm kind of surprised because this game is about 15, 17, 18 hours in length. But when you skip everything, you could go through this game stupid fast. And especially with the auto that the Steam version has. I mean, if you had speed boosters on, like, if you played the game on an emulator and just holding the speed up function, it's essentially the same deal. The difference is that auto actually makes it so I'm constantly attacking. So I guess if you use, like, the turbo feature on a controller and then hold the speed on an emulator, you could probably get the same thing. But I think this is a little bit better because I can kind of see what's going on and I could do snap judgments a little bit quicker. Instead of holding the speed on an emulator and then just holding turbo and then like, oh crap, I need to heal. And then like, I'm like, okay, I guess I died. And then I gotta figure out how to turn on the rewind function in emulator, and I just can't figure that out because it just never works for me at the time. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm already on the third form. I mean, it didn't take me that long. This still takes me longer than it does for me to just kill Lavos now. Normally with just a full party. I swear some of the Lavos battles that I did to get some of the endings took me less than 2 minutes. I'm just like, okay, Rebel punch him. Okay, Rebel punch him. And it's just like the battle's over already. That was pretty much the entire thing. So we know this fight in a nutshell is just, I gotta get the one on the right dead. So I gotta make sure to be able to do enough damage to kill the one on the left. So I need to make sure that Chrono has the prism spectacles or the sunglasses. Normally I would have the sunglasses on him because that would be enough to help me kill the one on the left. But since I don't have Robo in my party, I can just use the prism spectacles anyway. So I can just do that. Just hit him with something good. It usually goes down one hit anyway. Problem is since I only have one character, this thing will wail on me constantly. And since he doesn't really do the background shifting thing as much when you're not really doing much of anything, he's gonna hit me and do so much of my health in one attack. And it just takes me so long to get prepared, to a point where I had to sit there and keep healing constantly. This battle takes much longer than it needed to, mainly because I'm just like, okay, heal. Like, it's insane. Like, what? I'm freaking out because he keeps whacking me like in the face. I'm like, okay, can I do this? Because it's just constant whack. And I'm like, please stop, just stop. Let me like do some damage to you. It's so annoying because it just does so much damage. But at that point, I'm just like, okay, I need to get rid of the middle one because if it constantly is smacking me like this and doing a third of my health every hit, which honestly is ridiculous, by the way, it's like insane. So I just see that pod come back and I'm like, okay, this is actually a challenge. I need to get rid of that thing before I get smacked in the face again. But once I start seeing the temporal shift, I'm like, okay, he's probably not going to smack me as often. I don't have to worry about it too much because now he's just going to do everything else. It just does status element, the big attacks that do strong damage. But at this point, I'm okay because I don't have to worry about it too much. It's like the moment I get hit with something, it's just like, okay, I gotta heal. Losing half my health is a predetermined number versus losing a third of my health, because half of my health is always going to be half of my health. So I don't have to worry about that part. But once I'm like, okay, a third of my health and a third of my health, and I'm like, okay, if I get hit again, I'm dead. But if it's half, I don't have to worry about it. I could just use an elixir. But it's me freaking out because I need to balance the damage I'm doing versus how many times I'm healing. And I only have so many elixirs, so I gotta be careful about that. But I also have other items too. I can just resort to the mega elixirs that I also have. But it's not too big of a deal. Once he just starts doing stuff that isn't smacking me in the face, I'm a lot better off. Honestly, I'm a lot better off for that. Which, at this point, I could just keep spamming Illuminaire. Just keep doing that over and over and over again, and then get rid of the middle thing for a little bit. The problem is that, yeah, I don't really have too much time to relax. But at least me getting rid of that one and it doing the revival thing, I'm still hitting the pot at the end of the day. So I'm still smacking it with the best things I can at the moment. I could be using Frenzy, but if I get rid of that middle thing and I have a little bit of time to just focus on that pod, then I'm doing a little bit better. But Luminaire is just like a constant MP drain that I can just focus on just making sure I fill that up with each cure anyway. So I'm not really too worried again. I don't have to worry about my health being at max at all times. Like, I don't need to worry about the Robo situation. I don't need to worry about having healers since Chrono is just doing everything. I just gotta focus on attacking. Luminaire, Frenzy, whatever I can do. In this case, it's constantly Luminaire. And yep, got another half HP damage thing going off. Not too big of a deal, like I said. It's just half of what I got. So I could just sit there and just be like, oh, Luminaire. Eventually, it does go down, but there's a little bit more to this video, as you can tell. So, yeah, I just need to make sure they get the right temporal shifts. I mean, I can't really do anything about that because it's what it's going to do. But, again, yeah, I just heal, see an attack go off, heal, see an attack go off. There isn't really too much I can do. Like, this fight is, again, just me constantly going to my menu, doing the same things over and over and over again. It's not very interesting, but it is a challenge, I guess. I don't really... Everyone's like, oh, this is the ultimate thing. Just do it with Chrono alone. Are you man enough to do it with Chrono alone? I'm like, yeah. I'm going to be wasting like 5-10 minutes of my time. It's not that big of a deal. The only difference is that I'm not making it so I have Morrow doing the healing versus Chrono doing the healing. The only thing I really got to worry about is if I get confused. Which, if I get rid of the pod that makes it so I take status elements again right away, it's not that big of a deal since that one dies like in one attack by Chrono, so I'm not really too worried. But yeah, I can just keep going up and smacking in the face, keep going up, smacking in the face. Now I don't have to worry about the one in the middle again. Once it does that though, I gotta worry about it again. But it's not that big of a deal. Frenzy, the one on the left. Luminaire, 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 Frenzy. It's only real two things I could do. I just gotta prepare my MP management because me doing these things constantly again. Yeah, I'm just like, uh-oh, I need to heal. So I just do that, heal, no big deal, and then just continue the trend. It's really boring. It really is boring. I like this challenge. I do. I just There we go, another half HP, so that's gonna be me using another elixir or something, whatever I got. At this point, you can even tell I'm getting bored because it's like auto. Just make sure I get my healing going. That attack takes like, it's not even that long of an attack either. I'm just like, whatever. Just gonna let it go through. It takes a little bit of time. I just wanted this to go a little bit faster. If I didn't have auto, this probably would have taken a little bit longer. But yeah, see, I did it with Chrono alone, so you can't say I didn't. I just wanted to do it just for me doing it, honestly, but there are some people out there who's like, do it with Chrono alone, so I did it with Chrono alone. I figured I might as well just tack this on as the last thing in this video because I wanted to. I mean, that's another way to get the Dream Project ending, so why not? But I actually do find this ending very funny because of the way you go about achieving it. Luca's just sitting there going up to Chrono and is like, can you use these telepods to go from one end to the other? And then Chrono's just like, hold up, there's a bug over here. Let me take care of it.